Hello and welcome to Tonic Studios. I'm Leo and I'm here today to show you how to make the Amazing Aperture Box. Today it is a lot more simple than it probably looks at first. I am going to be following along Toby's instructions, so if you are reading the instructions, hopefully I'll be going in the exact order that you have in your pack as well. And I'll also be showing you the dies that I'm using for each piece that I have cut. So we're going to start with a little bit of die cutting first of all. I have cut most of my pieces, but I did save one to show you, which I think is possibly the most complicated part, and it's not really that complicated out of all of this. And that is to cut in the actual aperture into the top of the box. So I have already cut my panel, which you can see here. I've cut my pattern into the lower half, but I need to cut the aperture into the top. So for this, I'm going to need 2 dies from the set. We're going to need the outer edge and also the pattern piece. Okay, so I grab in my plate so I don't have to move this. So what you'll have is you'll put this down over the top of your die cut. So die cut this first and then go back in and cut in your pattern. So we always say never cut 2 dies at the same time. Just in case you cross them in your die cutting machine, you definitely do not want that to happen. Okay, just making sure that is in there nicely. Now on here you will notice around the edge you've got different little notches. Hopefully you can just see them in here. So you've got 1, 2 and 3 notches, and you have a corresponding set of notches on the actual pattern part of your die as well. Now I've already cut the first 2, so I've done this. This one is at number 1. So if you line up the notches for 1 on the pattern die with the notch for 1 on the base die, you'll end up with that piece there. If you then line up 2 and 2, so spin that back around that way, like so, you'll end up with that piece there. So we just need to cut in number 3. So I have 3 notches around here. I'm going to rotate my pattern die around until I get to the 3. Make sure they line up nicely, and also that you have a nice even border all the way around the edge of your circle as well. You want to hold just the pattern piece in place and take the rest of it away. And then I'm going to grab myself some die tape, and I'm going to very firmly tape this down because I definitely do not want it to move as it goes through the tangerine today. Okay, and then we can put this through. We're just going to ignore the fact that I've got ink on the back of my white plate. Nothing to see here. Let your ink dry before you die cut things is all I'm going to say about that one. Okay. It's going to go through there. Okay, and now we have the third of our patterns nicely cut into the wrap that goes around the box. Pick those pieces out there. And if I now bring in the other 2, so like I said, we've got number 1 and number 2, which are going to overlap like so. And then number 3 will sit here, and that will give you then a complete pattern. If you try and overlap them and you find they're not quite sitting in the right place, just keep rotating until you get to the right point. Because you only have 3 patterns, but you've got 4 layers. The 4th layer is actually what's going to sit underneath all 3 of these, or you can just cut the hole into the center and leave it open if you prefer to do it that way. So that one is then going to sit underneath your 3 patterns, like so. Okay, that part is done. The last thing I need to do on that now is just add in my little drop highlight that I have already pre-cut. So we're going to do some very speedy gluing on here. So just around the edge, and I'm using my precision nozzle for this. Good news, these are coming back into stock. They're on a container. I'm thinking you're going to have them very soon, if not already. I don't know when this is going out in comparison to when they're coming in. But I've seen a list and I know they're coming. And we're all very excited because obviously we desperately need some in the craft room. Cam's looking for me now. I can hear him typing away. They're in? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Are they on the website? Mm-hmm. Yay! Okay, if you have been waiting for precision nozzles, consider this your klaxon. They are now available. Run, don't walk, go and grab yourself some.
And I think, Cameron, you need to start booking some out for us, please.
Yes, please.
We'll have 3 packs, please.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I want this to go, let me just double check and make sure I do it the same as the others. Don't want one pattern to be the other way to the rest of them, so I've gone down and to the right. So, like that. Just so I've got a tiny little bit of a cream highlight around my lovely coral layer. There we go. Right, I'm going to pop all those to one side, let that finish drying, and we're going to actually make the base of the box first of all. So for that we have 4 of the side panels, which are these here, and that is cut with this big die here, which has these little score lines on one side. I've also then got 2 bases, which are just cut with this square die with the rounded edges. And then I also have 2 lids, so these have got the hole in the centre, and for that you use the same die and you then just cut the circle into the top of it. So I'm going to start by gluing these all in a line, but first let's fold on our score lines. So you have a top and a bottom. You'll notice the top of this actually has a curve cut into it, and that's so that when these sit over the top, it actually goes around the curve. So this is definitely your base, no curve, top, curve. Bear that in mind when you're gluing this together. And then you've got these little score lines on here. So for the first one, you want to give it a proper fold because that will be a square. But for these, you don't want to crease them. You just want to give them a gentle little encouragement, a bit of a bend, but you don't want like a definite, you don't want to pinch it all the way because you want it to end up being mostly curved. Okay, just gently pressing a crease into that one. And then we have these little glue tabs at the top. They kind of look like spooky teeth, don't they? You know, yeah, wicked pumpkin maybe. Okay, something like that. So you've got a nice curve on that piece. And we're going to do the same on all the others. Folded along their score lines, so I'm going to glue them all in a row. Same with any of our square boxes, but I think this is probably how we end up doing most of these at this point. As always, try and make sure you get your glue right to the corners of your glue tabs. You don't want any bits flapping in the breeze or not properly adhered. And do make sure everything's going in the same way, so you should have all of your curved tops on one side, which should mean then that all of your glue tabs are going in the right direction as well. You would think it would be difficult to make that mistake, and yet I have, so we'll learn from my mistakes on that one. Okay, I'm going in. And all I'm doing is just aligning this to the first score line. And the last one. Okay. Make sure that your score lines all across the top are lining up, and they should all line up across the bottom. Like I said, you want to make sure that you are meeting this upright score line as well. You don't want to go over it because that's going to stop the box from coming together nicely. Make sure they are all firmly pressed in place, and then we're just going to bring the two sides together to form the base of our box. Okay, there we go. And again, just give that a very firm press all the way along the glue tab. Okay, so now you can start to see the shape that this box has. It's a nice square box with rounded corners, which I think is quite unusual, not something that we've done an awful lot of, certainly not recently that I can remember. Anyway, so I'm going to take first of my lid pieces. I'm actually going to glue this inside in order to give this a good amount of structure, because it's got that huge hole in the middle. Obviously you've taken away a lot of the cardstock, so to kind of give it a bit more strength back, we're going to use two. It helps to build up the rigidity a little bit more. So I'm going to start by gluing just to one of my glue tabs. I always find it easier when we're gluing a panel on the inside of a box to start with one and then work your way around from there. So I'm just going up again to the score line. So it's really difficult to see, but I will flip it over in just a second. And before the glue completely grabs, you want to just turn that over and make sure that your curve on your box side is meeting the curve in the middle. And then press all the way along. And once you're happy that you've got that held in place, we can then fold that over. Make sure all of your glue tabs, even those scary little teeth ones, are out of the way. Fold that inside, and then we can just go around and glue the rest on. And we do the base last because this means you can actually get inside the box to press these in where you need to. I'm going to do exactly the same. So press that in. Make sure that this is meeting that curve nicely. And get the next one on. And again, pinch that in place. Be kind to your glue, don't move on too quickly. All of those things that we say and don't end up doing, I can see that just pinged as well. Right, okay. Be kind. Should that be our craft room motto, do you think?
You have to follow it.
Be kind to your glue, followed swiftly by shots, yeah?
Yeah, that's more like it. I mean, it's December after all.
It is December. Crafty vodka is in full effect.
Yes.
Okay, and there we go. So there's my first lid in. I'm going to put now all of my little scary teeth in. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of glue around each of those rounded edges and just fold those in. They probably won't stick immediately.
You're dangerously close to clutching.
I'm so sorry. It's not like me. Much. Okay, and I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to use my glass mat now and go all the way around all of the edges with my lovely precision creaser. Do we still have those in stock, Cam?
Yes, I believe so.
It's absolutely invaluable when you're trying to press
Mm-hmm.
tabs in like that.
I think it's one of the, along with our craft pick, one of the most used tools.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly in my caddy. I don't know about yours.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Good. While you're grabbing your precision nozzles, if you don't already have a precision creaser, grab one of them too. Sorry, precision glide folder to give it its full official title, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Make sure pressing right in around those curved edges. Flip them over and then we can just put the other one over the top. It's going to hide all of those fairly ugly looking glue tabs and just neaten the whole thing up. So for this I'm going to make sure I've got glue around the outer edge, not too much, you don't want it to squidge out if at all possible. And then a bit across here. And make sure you go to the inner edge as well. Again, not too close to the edge and not too much glue. You don't want it to all squeeze out when you press it into place. But you also don't want one of the edges to be not properly glued down and for it to start flapping or get caught when you are taking your gift in and out. And then we can just go and press that around. And again, once you're happy that it's in the right place, you can flip it over and give it a very firm press from the underside, which is definitely being kind to your glue. Helps to spread the glue, helps to create that good bond, like so. So that is the top of my box. Obviously it still has no base, so let's fix that. We're basically going to repeat exactly what we've just done, but without the big circle in the middle. So I have 2 bases, I'm going to glue one in, fold it over and do exactly the same again. So glue all the way across the first tab. This time I'm making sure that I've got the nice side up because I want the inside base to have the good side of my cardstock. And you want to push that down to the score line. And then just fold it in and make sure it is in the right place. It's not too far to one side or the other. That's looking good. And now I can just go and glue the rest of my glue tabs and fold it into place. Base on the inside of my box, and now I'm going to glue the second one. Actually no, I'm not. I'm going to save the second one. I've just reminded myself of how this box goes together. I'm going to save my second one for a bit later. Okay, so pop that down, leave it to one side for a moment. I love it when I remember just before I make a mistake not to make a mistake. Saves
I usually remember after I've made the mistake.
Yeah.
I go,
shouldn't have done that.
I think I'm meant to have put this somewhere else.
Yeah. So I'm now going to bring back in my wraps and I'm going to fold along all of their score lines. Be careful across the middle one because you've got that little slot in there, which is where your little notch goes in to hold it closed. Because obviously that's taken out, it is a little bit of a weaker line, so just be careful when you're folding that one. Whenever you take out a lot of cardstock from a piece of card with a pattern or something like that, it does just make it a little bit more fragile. Same with these, just be a little bit careful if you have the big open apertures. Now I have seen a couple of our design team have put things behind this. You could put vellum behind here if you wanted to. You could probably put acetate behind as well if you wanted to add a bit more structure to it. Depends how you want the finished box to look. So my recommendation for doing this would be not to glue this one on first, although that might be where you would start. Because you need to make sure that you get these 3 in the right place so your pattern works, I would do the 3 with the apertures first and then go back in and add the other one. It doesn't matter, they're not going over each other in terms of where they glue, so it's not going to mean that it's in the wrong order or anything like that. It just means that you can definitely get your pattern right before you do anything else, basically. So I'm going to just double check. No, I can see already that's wrong. Nope. See, this is why we test it first. So that one's going to go there, that one's going to go there, that one's going to go there. There we go. See, this is why we do it before we put glue on. So if I fold those out in that direction, hopefully that will help me. So tiny bit of glue along this glue tab, and this is why I haven't put the other base on yet, because this is going to stick onto the base. And you want to make sure that it goes between the score lines where your curves start. That's where it needs to sit on the box. So So give that a good press. And for the first one, you won't have a little slot to put your tab into, so it literally just hooks over the edge of the box like that. And this one is going to go this way. So again, I'm not going to cut that, I'm going to show you what I'm doing. Glue along there. And I'm going to put that into place. Again, making sure it's nicely centered along the straight edge. Press that into place. There's pattern number 2, and again I'm just going to hook that tab over the side to hold it in place. And then the last one is going to come in from this side. And this is where I'm really hoping that I haven't rotated this at all and the pattern does come together as it's meant to. Otherwise I'm sure Cam's going to have a right giggle. Okay, press that in place. How are we looking on the top? Yes, that looks right. So this time we now do have that little slot for our tab just to hook into. So that's going to hold that closed, like so. Okay, I'm going to give these all a good press before I open them up again. And now I can go in and glue the base. So my last one, all I've done is added a circle of gold mirror card on here, and then my birthday wishes sentiment that I have beautifully layered up. Again, glue on that tab, which is going to go under the box on that side. Press that into place. And then this one will go down first. So pop that over the top and put the tab down there. And this one can go in. And then this one can go over. Just tuck the tab in. And then that one can go over the top. Okay, so stage 1 successful. We have a finished box. We have the pattern looking as it should. Let's finish off the base. So we're going to put the feet on. So our feet, I have been very brave here. I have cut these out of mirror card. Everyone's going to look at me now and go, why on earth did you do that? It's a good question. I don't have an answer. So I'm going to firmly fold the score lines across here. I want to make sure they are pressed. We do need those to be 90 degrees, yes, that's what I'm looking for. These ones though, we just want to curve them because again these are going to sit on the corners here and you want them to mirror, sorry, let's do that so you can actually see what's happening. We want them to actually mirror the curve that's happening on here as well.
So would you glue those around the other base that you've made?
That's what you could do. I'm going to tuck this base in.
Ah, right.
So once I've put my feet on, this base is then going to sit
in there.
over the top. It's going to hide my glue tabs all the way around and lock my feet in as well.
That's why I was gonna. I would probably have put them on that. And
so you would put them on here.
Yeah. So I get my curve nice.
Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe. I don't know.
It's not the way I did it before.
It's not the way I did it before. No.
I'm not about to change it now.
No. So with these, because I've done this with mirror card, and if you also decide to do yours with mirror card, I salute you first of all for being brave. But also you could use tape to glue these down because you are anchoring them in with the second base. You can go in with a bit of tape and probably some glue as well, just to make sure they really stick. Okay. So I think I've got those all nicely curved. Right. Here goes nothing. Wish me luck. Gluing mirror card on a curve. Okay, not kitchen, right?
No.
Good. So what I'm going to try and do is get it in place and then hold it up so you can see. What I'm trying to do is line up the score lines. Hopefully you can see. So you've got the two end score lines, which is where your box kind of straightens out on the sides, and you want your feet to straighten out on those sides as well. And the rest of the curve should kind of fall into place by itself if you get those in the right place, in theory. I'm just going to hold this forever and ever and ever while the glue dries.
For the rest of your natural life.
Exactly that. So what I will do is I will hold this one. I'm going to speed this up and I'm going to add the other 4 feet on, and then we will come back.
The other 3?
Hmm?
The other 3?
Did I say the other 2?
You said the other 4.
Okay. Yes, the other 3. I can maths, honestly. Thank you for pointing that out for me. Resort to tape to stick these down, which you might have noticed. If you're doing mirror, just use tape is all I'm going to say. So now that I have my feet in place, I can now put in my final base, which is going to cover not only the glue tabs for the feet and anchor those in, but also then covers your glue tabs along here and everything else you've got going on down here. So plenty of glue around the edge. And all across the middle as well. You want this to stick well so that everything is nicely anchored in place. Pop that in. Go right to the edges. Shim it around if you need to. And you can then open up your lovely little aperture on the top so you can go in and press from underneath. Now I wouldn't recommend putting this down on your desk and pressing, because you don't want to mash the feet. I wouldn't recommend that. I can see a couple of these have had slight incidents with their feet already looking around me, so just be very careful. Again, be kind to your adhesive and your cardstock. Yeah, unfortunately, because our samples do get posted to and fro, possibly the courier doesn't treat them quite as we would like them to be treated. Our lovely precious makes. Okay, that is now nicely in place, so we can close this back up. You go there, you go over the top of there. So the last thing that we have in this die set, if I can get my last tab in, we have a, what are these called?
Rolled flower.
Thank you very much. I have forgotten the word. A rolled flower. Oh dear. You know it's bad when I'm losing words. So here is your rolled flower die. You can see it is a bit of a beast, this one. It makes a lovely flower. It's not a particularly big flower, but it's very full. So I have here one of our, do we call this a quilling tool?
Yes.
There we go. Thank you very much. The man who knows. We have a quilling tool. I'm going to use the thick side of this, and I'm going to start on the outside, so the outer edge. I'm going to pop this. There's a little tiny slit through the centre of here. I'm going to pop my cardstock into that. I've got my glasses on. I'm still struggling to see that. I am officially old. Okay.
I'm saying nothing because I can't see anything with any of my glasses at the moment.
So from here, and I've got my cardstock, this is my texture side, this is my linen finish side here, my right side up, so I'm rolling away from that so that my cardstock is facing outwards, if that makes sense. And what you want to try and do is to keep your roll nice and tight, so try not to let it spin on here, but you want to keep this bottom line lined up with itself as much as you possibly can. The cardstock will want to kind of roll down this post, and you need to kind of encourage it not to, which is far easier said than done, trust me. Okay, I'm going to keep rolling this. Hopefully you can actually see roughly what I'm doing as well.
You can also trim that down if it's a little bit too big for what you want.
Yeah, if you want a less full flower, you're going to want to trim from this end, not the centre, because the centre has the bit that you glue underneath. That kind of...
That we didn't bring the glue gun down for.
We didn't bring the glue gun down for, no. the landing pad, let's call it that, at the base of your flower. Okay, so we just keep rolling and rolling. Again, trying to keep this as flat as possible. The reason you want to try and keep this flat is because when you glue this, you want the glue to actually hit all of the different layers of your flower. And it keeps it looking neat as well. Okay.
I am certainly not as neat as you.
Well, this is not my best work. It's kind of going very conical, which you can tell from the top. It's starting to poke out in the middle.
Fine.
Or just
You can
give it a
just-
shove.
Yeah, you can push it back down.
So once you get to the end, we're going to slide this off here. There we go. And this part I find tricky. Trying to make sure you get this to wrap around, and then this part kind of folds over the bottom like so. So you have this little flat piece here, and that's where you're going to put hot glue. I don't have any. So here is your flower, and you can kind of let go a little bit if you want it to be bigger, not too much. And this is really hard for me to show you because my finger is over the top. Yeah, you don't want it to let go too much because you don't want it all to unravel. But if you want your flower to be less compact, if you just let go of the center slightly, you'll see that the petals kind of spin around as they loosen up, and you end up with a slightly fuller flower like that. I'm going to try and glue this. I don't think it's going to work, but
perhaps a little bit of red line would help.
maybe. We'll just put lots of glue like this.
That's going to work.
And be patient.
Totes. While I'm holding this with one hand, I also then have one of our little leaf die cuts. And notice again, these are joined with a nice little circle on here. So I'm going to glue this to... Oh, don't press your box on the surface. Okay. This is a lesson in what not to do today, isn't it? I'm going to pop my little leaf down on here. Like so.
Is your flower going to totally unspin?
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Stay in.
Kind of.
Just waiting for it to go.
Yeah.
Probably. Right. You sit there. Obviously we're going on to mirror cardstock again.
Oh,
so
nice.
again, what not to do if you're in a rush or you're trying to show this in a quick video. Let me just do a quick little rookie repair on there. Okay, we're good. So here is the top of the box, my little rolled flower that's honestly really trying to leap off there. So we're just gonna hold this here.
Bless it.
So you can see there's the front and the top. Hopefully it is in focus. Yes, good, excellent. There we go. So that is your amazing aperture box. I hope you have enjoyed and it has inspired you to grab this die set for yourself and have a go. Thanks so much for joining me. Happy crafting.